Come on in, everybody. Welcome in. Tonight, we're talking about some important subjects. We're going to talk about victims who died under mysterious circumstances, cases that have not been solved. We're going to talk about a couple cases here in Myrtle Beach that have been solved, and we're going to offer some help and talk a little bit about a very hard subject, domestic violence. So come on in. I'm so happy that you're joining me tonight. Grab you a snack, grab you a bevy. I'm drinking my little ginger. And come on in. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your evening tonight. I am Chevy Cool Lady, a voice for the voiceless here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're going to be talking about a few cases that we've talked about in the past. But we're going to go further into it tonight. All right. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina has approximately 36,500 people residing and thousands of tourists every year. Myrtle Beach is not the cute little beach town you might think it is. In a recent rating of safety, it was giving a 0 out of 100 points. We see a lot of murders. We see a lot of unsolved crime. And we're going to make everybody aware of what's going on in the hopes to bring some conclusions and bring some answers to the people who are requiring justice be brought for the victims, the family members and friends of people who mysteriously died, whose cases are unsolved here in Myrtle Beach. Hi, Ava. I'm so glad you got to join me today. I missed you, girl. Welcome in. Welcome in. So Myrtle Beach cold case. There is a Myrtle Beach cold case review team. I was looking it up. It looks like it's made up of some retired officers, people who have some background in investigation. They meet monthly at the Myrtle Beach Police Annex, and they put their heads together and try to come up with some solutions for these cold cases. But the truth of the matter is these cold cases are not getting solved. And so it's up to people like you and me to spread awareness and to get the word out that if you know something, say something. Basically, very few crimes are single-handed operations that are left in the silence. People tend to tell other people what's going on. People tend to brag sometimes, and many people have implicated themselves in the sense that they might feel that they're an accessory to a crime. And the fact of the matter is justice needs to be done. If you know something, say something. And some of these cases have been going on so long, it just breaks my heart. Welcome in Marcella, Fikret, Jethro Miller, Sana. Welcome in. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. I'm Chevy Cool Lady. If this is your first time here, we talk about Christian issues. We talk about true crime, unsolved murders and cold cases. We talk about children who disappear off the face of the earth, never to be heard from again. We get the word out because we care. If this sounds like it'd be a fit for you, please consider joining. Please also consider supporting this channel, as we have, I want to keep bringing cases to you and appreciate everything that you do. But thank you so much for joining. Please like before you forget, and we'll continue. So I just want to bring a little bit of attention to a case that's solved. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with this case, and that's the Brittany Drexel case. She had gone missing back in 2009. She was only 17 years old. She had, from what I understood, kind of disobeyed her parents in coming down here for spring break, but came down. was in contact by phone with her boyfriend. Um, One evening she had gone out. She was last seen leaving her hotel, and never returned. The case, there's a few people that were suspects at the time. They were interviewed. Nothing ever came from it. The case went cold. It wasn't until just a few years ago that the case was solved. And even it being solved, there are still questions because a man named Ray Mood, a convicted S offender, uh, he had a girlfriend named Angel Voss. Well, these two people were actually interrogated at the time of Brittany's disappearance, and nothing ever came from it. Years later, he came back under fire. He actually confessed that he was responsible for her death. Well, they weren't really able to prove it at that particular point, but he did say that if there was nothing to come of the charges against that Angel Voss, his girlfriend, then he would tell the family where the body is. And that's exactly what happened. So she did get charged with obstruction to justice and a couple other things, but he's the one that took the conviction for a violent crime. A poor little 17-year-old girl. She apparently had been just, she left her hotel and was looking to party. A couple 40-somethings pulled up in their car, man and woman. She felt safe. She couldn't have made a bigger mistake. And she got into that vehicle with them. And apparently the woman, Angel, had confessed to another person that she's the one that had actually killed her. But they were willing to compromise and charge Ray Mood because he told her where her body could be found. It was found on the other side of the Santee River here in South Carolina. And at least that family did get closure, but it took 10 years for it to happen. So Myrtle Beach police are very slow to solve crimes in this town. Hi, guys. Welcome in, Fikret. Thank you so much. You can certainly contact me. My email is available, so I definitely would love to hear from you. All right, so that was one sad case, but at least it came to a conclusion. We have some other cases that I want to tell you about tonight. There's the case of Heather Wallace. She was a beautiful young woman, 22 years old. And let me find the information here. She it's kind of an interesting case. She had been working at a little bar in the area, bar and grill type of place, called the Tilted Kilt. And while she was there, she met a man. He worked on the ACHV system. He was married in his 40s. She began an affair with him. Then I guess she found out he was married, whatever, tried to break it off. He became insistent upon it. In fact, his wife found out about her and joined in this harassment, even after she had broke up with this guy. Just continued to send texts and messages, call her work, and just be horrible people to her. And apparently she had just started to get over him and go on with her life. And she, in fact, had a first date with a young man that was closer to her age, went out with him, returned home around 1, got on the phone with a friend, told her, how much fun she had, and, she was looking forward to seeing him again. But she said in that call to her friend that this guy was continuing to text and call her, and apparently lured her out to a Little River dock, and apparently, by all we can tell and all we know, the girlfriend Tammy, and he killed her and hid her body, and she's never been found, not to this day. Again, it's time that this family gets justice. They've convicted these two people of various crimes, but there has not been her body found yet. There's been some more cold cases that have happened in South Carolina that really caught my attention. And hi, Marcella. Thank you so much. South Carolina cold case FBI, where the FBI got involved. There's a series of cases that I never heard of before. They refer to them as the Shaw Creek killings. It's a series of killings that took place in Aiken County. Aiken County is basically a very country town. It's known for its thoroughbreds and horse racing. It's actually located on the border of where South Carolina meets Georgia. There's about a 250-mile span that's called Aiken County. Well, there were 4 murders that took place. The first one was a woman named Jacqueline Reed Council. She was 30 years old and the mother of 4, and on November 10th, 1986, she went missing. She had dropped her young son, who at the time was only 5 years old, off at school and was never seen from again. On March 22nd, 1991, she disappeared in 86. In 91, a body was found on the river. It had been there for some time, and it took almost 10 years to ID her, as her name was, she was known as Jackie Council. So that's on the area, as I said, that's called Shaw's Creek. The second body found there was November 16th, 1987, south of Eureka, South Carolina, on Johnson Highway and Mount Calvary Road. They found a woman's body, her skeletal remains, no clothes or belongings. She had been there 1 to 5 years before she was found. It turned out that they did find a brass shell casing. It was from an older type of pew pew, and they also found that some hair from her body, and it did test for cocaine. So they considered that she was a sex worker, and both of these women happen to be African American. So now we have 2 bodies found in a very short, maybe a 5-mile span. Still, they're not relating these killings, but they could tell from her body that she had either a very active life or a hard life. She had her nose had been fractured prior to death and was healing. She had several teeth missing prior to her death. In fact, she had several bones that had broken and healed. So she had a lot of damage to her body. They considered her a sex worker. She was the second Black woman found in the area in Aiken County. And then in 1989, the third victim was found. They were able to identify her as Dristine Dresden, 29 years old. On March 13th, 1987, she was found at Shaw Creek. In 1986 and 1987, they were unable to still identify her, but in 1992, 3 miles from the other body, a third Black woman was found naked and dead near a body of water. Same scenario. They ID'd her through forensic reconstruction. She was identified, I think, from the next county over. And in February of 1993, they were able to put a positive ID to her. She died from a gunshot wound. The killer was never found. None of the killers were found. The fourth body to be found was found on 1/25 of 93. Another lifeless African American woman near Edgefield in Aiken County, naked, no belongings, unidentified. The difference here with this particular body is she had actually died on a different location. She had been buried someplace else and then brought to Shaw Creek. She had been relocated there, they said, somewhere between 1990 and 1992. And after she was resumed and reburied, she was also burned. So it got rid of a lot of the forensic evidence, a lot of the flesh, the soft tissue was destroyed, and it created a problem at that time with the technology involved to identify her. They did know that she was between 25 and 32, about 5'4" to 5'7". Some of her bones were missing, so they couldn't tell, but they said she had a small build and some protruding teeth. In Aiken County in 1994, on 4/14, they received a tip. The tip was about a man named Frank Dott, a migrant worker, a loner, a person who lived in a very remote place in Alabama. But because he was a migrant worker, he was connected to this particular area in South Carolina. He had spent many years in jail for some horrible crimes against children. So he spent that time from 1982 to 1988 in jail, but was released. In 1994, he was actually sentenced to life. Sometimes I feel like they want to blame random people for a whole series of crime, and part of me feels like they did that in this case, the case of the Shaw Creek killings. 4 African American women were found basically in the same situation. Only one had a little bit of a variance to how she was found. When they were investigating this guy, they actually found another body on his property. So they ended up blaming him for 15 to 18 deaths, but they didn't have enough evidence to convict him of all those killings. And like I said, I sometimes think they just group them together just to settle them, just to close the cases, and whether it is that particular person or not. We've seen that in the past. There was a possible link with another man named Joseph Wash in 1993. He was arrested and he had matching MOs, but really 2 of the bodies are still unidentified. 2 have been identified. And, did they ever even catch the right killers? Why did it take over 10 years to identify these women? And is this just good enough? Because I don't feel like the family even has the kind of closure to know for a fact that the killer of their daughters, their sisters, their mom was properly taken care of. So I wanted to bring these cases up. I wasn't sure if y'all had heard of them before. I didn't. Are y'all interested in learning about any other particular cases? I'll be happy to do some research and look into them. We really want to get the word out about the cold cases because families need closure. And like I said, somebody knows something about what happened to these people. And at the heart of so much of the crime what it turns out to be is a domestic violence situation. It's a hard conversation to have, but violence in the home needs to stop. Coercive control is a word that we've seen come up a lot lately in a lot of the cases. And what that is, it's a continuous pattern of behavior that is intended to exert power or control over another person. These behaviors deprive survivors of their independence and can make them feel isolated and scared. This can have a serious impact on survivors and on their day to day routines. Coercive control behavior. We're just going to go ahead and talk about that for a little bit. Basically, the symptoms are isolation, controlling what you eat, what you wear, what you do, who you know, who you talk to, controlling who you see or spend time with. It prevents you from accessing support. The coercive controlling includes gaslighting and monitoring behavior, whether it's in line or or in person, tracking you by phone or with a tracking device on your car, controlling your finances or your ability to earn money, and also what you spend your money on. We're talking about coercive control, one aspect of domestic violence. Emotional or physical threats, intimidations, threatening to disclose information that would embarrass you, humiliating or degrading you, just repeatedly pulling you down and making you feel fearful or scared of non-compliance. I want to offer a helpline to anyone who might need help in a domestic violence situation or just someone to talk to. The number you can call is 800-799-7233. Again, 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. You can also text the word begin, BEGIN, to 88788. There's tools on this particular site that can help you stay safe and help develop a plan of safety if you're trying to leave someone. As we know, usually the last 48 hours that you're trying to lead someone tends to be the most dangerous and where the most violence could possibly take place. So it's important to create a personal safety plan. It's important to take notes. Your voice as a victim is taken from you. So it's time to regain your power, regain your voice, begin taking and journaling incidents that happened, time, date, photos, videos, witnesses. Keep track whether it's on a paper or online. Just make sure it's somewhere that your abuser cannot get a hold of it. It's just so important to keep track for your own safety, and later on as you try to leave, try to have legal procedures done, you have to have a good record of what's happened. It needs to be concise and to the point. It needs to include information that's specific to you in your life. There's an online link on this particular site that actually it has like a whole series of questions and whatnot that you can fill out ahead of time, so that if you're in the heat of an argument or trying to leave or in a situation that potentially is dangerous, all this information is contained in one place, along with items you might need, like your driver license, keys, ID, birth certificates, children's records, change of clothing. These things can be prepared, and maybe kept in a trunk or in a suitcase or at a friend's house, because you might not have time to pack, if a situation's bad. And I just want you guys to stay safe. You can email your plan to a friend or even back to yourself, as long as that information is not accessible to your abuser. Have a code word. with your family and friends so that if you call and use this word, they'll know you're in trouble and they'll know to get help. If you've already left and you're afraid to be alone, is there somebody that can stay with you? These are things to think about. Okay. I appreciate you, but um can someone stay with you if you're alone? Cell phones a lot of times are broken, and my main advice to someone in a relationship is get your own phone. Don't allow someone else to have control over your phone. Even if you have a secondary burner phone, put away for an emergency, then get that. Do yourself a favor, because usually the phone is attacked first by these type of controlling people. They want to cut off your access to help. So make it hard. Where is a safe place uh, in public that you can go to if an emergency comes up? Things to think about if you're leaving a coercive, controlling relationship. Um, Items to have packed away or put away that you'll need if you have to leave. Okay, if uh, you need to avoid seeing your partner. If you've left and the route you take to work or wherever you go goes by their house, you'll need to find another route. So if you have these plans ahead of time, it helps you to stay safe. It helps you to have a plan to win, because I want you all to win. I want you to win. I want you to have happy lives. And I know there's a lot of dangerous situations that you can be in, and I want you to be safe. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate y'all so much. And I'm going to be posting more about some more cases. Thank you for joining me.